Coming up next on Arizona Horizon, we'll hear from ASU Athletic Director Ray Anderson on stadium renovations and athletic districts, and we'll meet the new head of a group working to get businesses to relocate to the Valley. Those stories next on Arizona Horizon.
Arizona Horizon is made possible by contributions from the Friends of Eight, members of your Arizona PBS station. Thank you.
Good evening and welcome to Arizona Horizon. I'm Ted Simons. ASU Athletic Director Ray Anderson oversees more than games and scores. He's also shepherding everything from capital projects and clothing contracts to new facilities for the baseball and golf programs. Here now to update those and other endeavors is ASU Athletic Director Ray Anderson. Good to see you again.
Good to see you, Ted.
How are you holding up?
Very well, thank you.
Is this job what you expected so far, or is this just is it a little bit different?
Well, it is broader and deeper than I could have envisioned with all the various things going on. I don't think President Crow or any of the members of the interview committee a year ago, it's a year ago today that I showed up to begin my duties, could have articulated for me really the depth and breadth of all that it entails, and it's just been fast and furious, interesting as all get out. The student athletes, the sports, the donor alumni relationship, the facilities, you name it. It's been a whirlwind, and I'm enjoying it very much.
Well, and you're making for a lot of changes here. Can you change too much too quickly?
I suppose you can. We don't feel like we have faced that challenge yet. Change is hard for some folks, and you got to bring it when you have it, and so we're trying to do that. But no, we don't think we've done anything hastily or too quickly. We like our timing and our pace.
The $500,000, did I get $500,000 donation for the stadium? Is that what happened there? Did you do that?
Well, my wife and I, Buffy, along with Todd Graham and his wife Penny, when it came time to talk about the fundraising efforts for the stadium, collectively, we just believed that we needed to put skin in the game ourselves to make a commitment of significance, at least to the ability of our means, particularly if we were going to go out and encourage and ask others to step up and financially support the effort. So we just thought it was the right thing to do, and we're proud to be able to do it.
Let's talk about Sun Devil Stadium, the renovation. What's the update there? Anyone driving by can see that the whole big old chunk is lost there on the north side. What's happening?
On the north side, and then if you come around to the south side off of Veterans, you will see that there's construction going on in earnest, primarily demolishing. So the whole student section in the south end zone, which will become the student section, is now flat, and they will begin to construct, and so there will be a south bowl filled up and ready to go for our student section when we kick off in August.
And now, are there phases for this renovation? And if so, what are those phases?
3 phases. The most importantly was to get the student section done first, and then that will be followed by work on the east side, and then the final phase will be on the west side, as also the new student athlete facility on the north side. So it will be phases this year, next year, and then in August of 2017, we'll have a completely reinvented venue.
Until August of 2017, the games will continue? No playing over here or playing over there?
No, it was very important to us to not displace our fans and disrupt our momentum. So we will play in season. What they'll do is they'll construct really diligently during the off season like now. And then once we get to August of 2015, the in-bowl work will shut down, and then they'll do more back of the house exterior work. But we will play all of our games in the stadium through the construction.
And real quickly, I know that years ago there was some concern there might have been some water damage, there was some safety concerns. Are those being addressed?
Absolutely. All of that has been done through engineering, our architectural firm, our construction firm, our safety folks. Those are infrastructure things that absolutely are being addressed. And a lot of the work really is out of eyesight. It's some of that back of the house structural stuff that the normal fan wouldn't see. Piping, electrical, et cetera, is being addressed, and it will be like a brand new stadium when we're done.
Well, you know, there's a favorite old stadium in town, Phoenix Municipal Stadium, mm-hmm. Phoenix Muni, where the Giants and Phoenix Giants and the Phoenix Firebirds, just a lot of history with spring. That is the new home of ASU baseball, isn't it?
It is. The Oakland A's were the most recent tenants there. They've moved out to new facilities, and so in conjunction with the city of Phoenix, we now have Phoenix Muni as a home of Sun Devil baseball. We've put quite a bit of money into the renovation. We actually have our alumni game, which will be our first public unveiling. And then next Friday, the 13th, we open up against Oklahoma State. But it's been rebranded. It looks fabulous. It'll give us a lot more seating and much better media coverage area. So we're really proud of it.
For those who grew up with Packard Stadium, why the move?
It was just time. Packard served us well for 40 years, but it was no longer up to elite status in terms of its facility, including, for instance, the press box. So it was time for us to have a new facility that was more reflective of an elite baseball program, and we have that now at Phoenix Muni.
Will it still be called Phoenix Muni, or is that going to change sometime down the pike?
Sun Devil baseball at Phoenix Muni.
Okay.
So if it, at some point, will there be a different name to be determined? We haven't had those discussions yet.
I was going to say, a lot of folks like Phoenix Muni. It brings back a lot of memories.
Phoenix is got a lot of memories here, I'm told.
A lot of memories at Papago Golf Course as well, and those memories will continue with the ASU golf program going over there. Again, what happened to Karsten? What's going on with Karsten?
Well, you know what? Karsten is running as the home of our golf teams right now. Still to be determined the time that we actually move over to Papago, but certainly there is an agreement that will become the home of Sun Devil men and women's golf. It's just still to be determined when that is. But you know, the determination has been made that Karsten eventually, a portion of it at least, will be closed and we will become part of the Athletic Facilities District, and still trying to figure out the details and the nuances of that.
I want to get to that district in a second, but will there be a new clubhouse built at Papago to serve not only ASU, but the general public?
Emphatically, yes, and that's being planned. I don't know if we're at the design phase, but there's no question that a new clubhouse is part of the program, and that will be one of the early things done there. So is that in the next year or so? I would surmise yes.
Interesting. Okay, but as far as moving over there, that could be a couple, 2-3 years down the road?
Well, I wouldn't say 2 or 3 years, but it could be some months. Again, obviously still being determined in terms of the transition time. Still have some work to do, but it will be in the very near future.
Okay, all right, because I keep seeing people playing out there at Carson. I keep thinking that thing's supposed to be closed.
Well, you know, we're going to we're going to play until it's actually time to move, and there is a substitute for the play for our men and women's golf teams.
Losing golf balls on the 18th hole, right and left. That's what you guys want to do, is collect money. All right, the athletic district, you mentioned it earlier. What is it? Where is it? How far along is it?
Well, we're in the early stages of the master planning in terms of what is it. It's 330 acres around the current athletic facilities, a lot of it on the east side of Rural Road, going down to Rio Salado. It is a beautiful, wonderfully placed section of land, and there will be apartments, there will be retail, there will be mixed use, there will be additional athletic facilities, there will be other businesses, maybe some additional academic buildings over there. Again, early in the master planning that really has just become active in the last 2 or 3 months. But that will be rolled out here in the not too distant future as well. What's fun about coming here and just being here as year is all this stuff is swirling around and happening, a lot of it simultaneously, and you can imagine the excitement that I'm having, kind of being in the middle of it at times, and at times at 35,000 feet, but always with great interest.
And then again, this will finance athletic capital projects, this particular district, correct?
That's why it's called the Athletic Facilities District. It will certainly be able to help with some of the athletic capital projects, but not necessarily limited to just athletics. If there are other projects that require funding and it is a better use, there will be some, as I understand it, some discretion on the part of the powers that be but it will benefit ASU. Sun Devil Athletics will be part of that benefit.
In general, revenue streams, donor relations, these sorts of things, are you seeing improvement, and what needs to be improved?
Well, we are seeing improvements. I think people have really responded to the vision of what we're trying to do with Sun Devil Athletics. Give a lot of credit to President Crow for stepping up and saying, you know, we want the vision of the university to be the vision of the athletic department, which is win consistently, win within the rules, compete for championships, but be an elite program. And so folks have bought into the vision, and certainly Coach Graham and what he's done in football. I like to believe that people believe that my presence here is another validation of the fact that we're going to be very serious and very driven to really deliver a first-class product academically and athletically for all our student athletes, and people are responding by stepping up and saying we want to financially invest in those endeavors.
Are they seeing a different ASU? Because just saying moving into the elite suggests that in the past maybe the elite was a little bit out of grasp. And we've heard everyone from Dirk Cutter to other folks. Anyone who remembers ASU baseball in the old days, that was top notch. That was the Reggie Jacksons of the world came to ASU. Not quite there right now, and hasn't been that way for a while. How does ASU become elite in terms of athletics?
Well, first of all, it's driven by the student athletes. You got to make sure you're identifying academically and athletically elite student athletes, and then get them here, recruit them here effectively. You got to have coaches and personnel who are dedicated to that mission, and then you have to have a president and administration and alumni and donors who want to see that. And then you just, very frankly, you set expectations and the bar higher, and then you force yourself to go do that. It's not easy. There's no secret sauce to it, but hard work and dedication and vision. And we think we're bringing all those things to the table now, and people are buying in.
Real quickly, as far as this job and you, quality of life. When you were here last time, you were talking about getting out of the NFL, coming to a university environment. You were familiar with Tempe and ASU, but it was still new to you. It's not quite as new anymore.
Yeah.
What are you thinking?
I think it's the fabulous place to be. People ask me what's the difference, and the difference is that there is still a purity and an innocence with these young men and women, these student athletes, that just gives you energy day in and day out. And folks say, what's the difference? I said, when you become the athletic director of 550 student athletes, they become like your surrogate children. And so when you go watch them compete academically or athletically, there's a different level of engagement. They're like going to watch your own kids play soccer or football or basketball or sand volleyball, wrestling, what have you. And there's just this energy and this love and engagement that you just don't get at the professional level.
Yeah.
They're like going to watch my own kids play and Buffy's own children play. And that's the difference that makes this so dynamic.
Was that difference hammered in with the Super Bowl in town and with the NFL, the Deflategate and the Johnny Manziel going into rehab, all that? A little bit enforced with that going on?
Well, with all the wonderful things that have happened since the first day I got here on campus, with the things I'm talking about, getting to know the student athletes and the coaches and their parents, and just seeing the innocence and the passion and the drive and the love of competition. And then unfortunately to see some of the things that have happened in the NFL drive home the distinction, the difference, and make us look in the mirror, my wife and I, and say, boy, don't we love it here at Arizona State. Isn't this a better place? Aren't these student athletes a fabulous environment for us to work in?
And you got a hockey program coming online, don't you? How did that happen?
Well, you know, we've had a hockey program here at the club level successful for years.
Yeah.
And they won the national championship last year. And so one of the Cronkite School students, Justin Emerson, came to my office, did an interview, and basically said, Mr. Anderson, we got a great hockey program. Why not make it varsity? I said, it's all about the financing. If people step up and want to help us fund it, and then also help us fund, for Title IX purposes, another women's sport, we'll make it happen. And shouldn't you know it, a week after Justin from here wrote the story, we had people call up to say, in fact, we are interested. Fast forward, we have $32 million committed from very committed folks who want to see ASU hockey at a varsity level. and is going to make it possible for us to add another women's sport or two. How terrific is that?
That's fantastic. Well, it sounds like very busy times, and you sound like you're enjoying it. You're a lucky man to be enjoying your job and having so many things going on at once. Congratulations, and good to see you again.
Thank you, Ted. Likewise. Appreciate it.
For about 25 years, the Greater Phoenix Economic Council has worked to attract businesses to the Phoenix area and support efforts to make the region more competitive. Joining us now is the new president and CEO of GPEC, Chris Camacho. Good to have you here. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you very much for having me.
Let's start by defining terms here. What is GPEC?
Greater Phoenix Economic Council is the regional economic development strategy arm of the market. So our main charter is to induce new companies in their site selection process and due diligence process to select Arizona and select Metro Phoenix. And we're fortunate to have 22 mayors and the Board of Supervisors working collectively in a strategy on one economic plan, which is really unique. And we also have a number of private sector investors, 180 in fact, that private sector companies invest in GPEC to drive the economic strategy along with these mayors and county supervisors.
Compared to another economic innovator with the Arizona Commerce Association, it seems like there are some similarities there. Talk to us about that.
Yeah, so our counterparts, Arizona Commerce Authority, they drive the state strategy. So they work very closely with the governor's office. They are funded by the legislature and really drive the state brand, the foreign direct investment platform, and work very closely with us on administering all the policies. And so they're the entity that has the luxury of managing all those policies that lawmakers pass. And then we work very closely with them as we're out driving businesses to the market. And they serve on the back end side of supporting these companies as they go through that process.
As far as working with cities in the Phoenix area, municipalities, and working with lawmakers in the county and the state as such, but working with everyone, how does that work? How do you get it done?
Yeah, it's really, economic development's a team sport. So it takes the public sector to come together, albeit at the state, regional, and local levels, tied to one economic strategy. And our focus is aligning, a strategy around high-wage jobs, base industries that are going to create, high-wage jobs and ultimately per capita wealth for the market. And so we've been able to leverage very successfully a number of private sector business leaders to tie into our model. So when companies come to this market like Apple and others, and they want to interface with companies that have been here and have grown here and scaled here, they get direct interface with these CEOs. They can talk about the business customs and practices of being here, the ability to attract talent, and really understand the operating environment that exists within Arizona.
And I know that you've been with GPEC for a while here, but as far as president and CEO now, you're taking it forward. What has GPEC done well in the past? What has GPEC needed to maybe improve from the past?
Sure, Ted. So I'm the fourth president and CEO of this organization since 1989. So our legacy nationally is that we're one of the top organizations that has the ability to produce dramatic results for the market. And so we're the frontline team that executes a business development plan, a branding and strategy communication model. And what we've done well is recruit companies. And our track record is such that we've recruited over 600 companies to the market since our inception. And more recently, the last 3 years, over 100 companies have entered the market through GPEC. Where our challenges reside is the last 5 years, and I've been at GPEC 7, is how you turn the market and the brand really around the recovery strategy. So we have recovering from the worst recession that we've experienced. Certainly a lot of the cloud has been over Arizona for the last few years in this recovery period. We're coming off the Super Bowl, we're coming off the Waste Management Open, where there's been an entirely new view on Arizona. And having the global CEO markets analyzing Arizona and seeing Arizona in a brand new light, I think going forward we have a great opportunity to showcase our information communication technology talents, our legacy industries like aerospace and defense, the advanced electronics sector as well. There's so much happening in this market, and I think we could do a great job of telling the story of Arizona.
And there is so much happening in the market, but you mentioned aerospace, you mentioned Apple and technology and such. So much of that is happening in other cities as opposed to Phoenix and downtown Phoenix. Downtown Phoenix is certainly growing and the changes are amazing, but it could grow a little bit more. Along light rail, you take light rail, you still see a lot of land out there ripe for the picking. What's going on with that? How come we're not seeing better development there?
Yeah, so that's a new effort we're undertaking in alignment with Valley Metro and the City of Phoenix. If you look at established urban economies, they're centered around transit corridors, they're centered around concentrations of technology companies. And so part of the process for GPEC is now looking inward at our market and assessing our innovation concentration and innovation quotient, so we can grasp what types of technology companies are growing in this market and how do we get cities to start to place make. And what I mean by that is simply how do we align the various technology interests of this market in a concentrated area. Metro Phoenix is very spread out. We have a number of these different technology nodes that operate today. The goal would be ultimately to operationalize those so that we have density and concentration that people can dramatically recognize where our innovation hubs are. So that's something new we're undertaking actually as we move into 15.
So that means getting Tempe and Chandler and Mesa, if it means out there in the Apple area, the Price Road corridor, and all these corridors we keep hearing about regarding technology, getting them to work together, getting them to expand together?
Yeah, so it's ironic. I was on a call just before I stepped in the studio today with DMB, and we were talking about 4 years ago, I sat before a large group talking about building out employment centers and how important it is for the city and the private sector to come together and recognizing in a world of global competition how we have to have sites that are prepared from an infrastructure standpoint. We have all the other attributes of a market that make us really attractive, but ensuring that we have large-scale, entitled, development-ready sites. And at the time, even this was before First Solar, before Apple came in the market, we were strategizing this Elliott and Ellsworth corridor. And that's a great example, and we were actually building this conversation off of the success in Chandler at Price Road.
Right.
And there's a number of West Valley sites as well. We're going through the same process to ensure that we have these large employment center sites staged for the next 20 years of development, so that as these technology companies come to the market, they assess the labor concentration models that exist, and they certainly assess infrastructure as well.
So when those who say, if you're the Greater Phoenix Economic Council, and right now the Phoenix itself needs a lot of help at the core, the downtown area, and all this activity is happening on the outskirts, you say not necessarily a bad thing?
Well, I'm a big believer in urban development, so the health of the core is critically important. And again, our close work with Mayor Stanton and certainly the economic development staff is really how do we turn Midtown and really the downtown core around this new urban technology, or really new urban economy model. And we've seen a lot of let's say organic movement in the early stage startup space. We're seeing a lot of interest in incubators, accelerators in that downtown core that will induce organic activity to occur. And that's what you want to see. I mean, if you look at what ASU's done with their investment in downtown, really reshaping the downtown marketplace and bringing students, the Y generation downtown has really created this new dynamic. And I think what you're going to see over the next 5 to 7 years is a dramatic shift in the concentration, the type of employment that's occurring in our downtown core.
And the type of employment is a big deal for a lot of folks because they don't want to see minimum wage jobs or just the journeyman kind of jobs. High wage, high skilled jobs, that's what everyone wants. Is it a balancing act when you got 14 different call centers saying they want to come in, but you want to see maybe something a little more prestigious or a little more high paying?
Yeah, so the focus for a lot of our urban density models are really focused on how do we ensure that we have the complementary ecosystem that supports these startup companies. So there's certainly going to be room for call centers. We have a lot of land. We have a lot of room for back office centers as well. Most of them are going to go to the suburban markets because of the land space. And there's still opportunities within Phoenix, however, because 85% of our projects today, when they call us 275 active projects that are in our pipeline, one existing space today.
Wow.
So when you see that a 22% vacancy in office and about a 12% vacancy in industrial, we have a lot of product to sell. So now I think it's all about how do we stage this next growth boom that's going to happen. We're already underway, and the level of activity that I'm seeing in our pipeline today is the best I've seen it in my 7 years at GPEC. And moving forward, it's all about placemaking. It's how do we work closely with our 22 cities around how do they complement the innovation ecosystem? Because we can't have 22 cities of embedded innovators. We have to have complementary communities that really drive the regional aggregation of technology jobs. And that's what we're trying to build here at GPEC.
Last question. For those who say that the Valley is simply underperforming, when you look at the Austins and San Diegos and other urban areas, Denver's even, and Salt Lake Cities, When they say this, first of all, do you agree? And secondly, what you going to do about it?
I don't agree. I don't agree at all, and here's why. So what's happening in the last 7 years, we've made major strides in our innovation position. We've made major strides in incubators, accelerators. The startup community has evolved dramatically in this market just in the last 7 years. If you look at the software jobs that are in this market, and generally when you think technology, you think software, you think internet and gaming, we've grown more jobs than both Austin and Denver over that last 5-year period. And the projection over the next 10 is we'll outpace both of those markets in software job growth. And actually, and we were laughing about this because we hear a lot of interest from California companies, and they think Austin, Phoenix, and Denver. And when I think about the data that we're required to produce to support these companies, we have a larger concentration of software companies than Denver, Colorado today. Most people don't know that, so it goes back to my brand interest of pushing that communication model outward.
Well, all right. Well, good luck to you, and thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
And that is it for now. I'm Ted Simons. Thank you so much for joining us. You have a great evening.
Arizona Horizon is made possible by contributions from the Friends of 8, members of your Arizona PBS station. Thank you.